The night sky had always called to me. Even as a child, I'd spend hours on our farmhouse roof, staring up at the stars, wondering if someone out there was looking back. I never told anyone why those distant lights meant so much to me. How could I explain that somewhere among them was my sister? The memories from that night 30 years ago remain razor sharp. I was just 7 years old when the strange lights appeared above our family's rural property. My parents tried to shield me from the window, but curiosity got the better of me. The brilliant blue glow illuminated our entire living room as something massive hovered above our home. What happened next changed everything. They didn't come with violence or demands. They came with a proposition. A cultural exchange, they called it. One of their children would remain on Earth, and in return, they would take one of ours. My parents refused initially, of course. Who wouldn't? But something in their otherworldly eyes conveyed a truth beyond words. This wasn't a threat. It was an opportunity. My twin sister Lily volunteered. I still remember her small hand squeezing mine as she whispered, "I'll be back, Alex. I promise." She wasn't scared. She was excited. Even at 7, Lily had always been the brave one, the curious one, the one who belonged among the stars. In exchange, they left a child of their own, a small blue-skinned girl with eyes that seemed to contain entire galaxies. My parents named her Nova, and she became my new sister. Though her appearance gradually changed to appear more human as she grew, there was always something unmistakably different about her. Something beautiful and strange. The agreement included communication, occasional messages from Lily that came through Nova in dreams, and symbols only I could understand. Lily was thriving, learning their ways, becoming something between human and whatever they were. Her messages grew less frequent as the years passed, but they never stopped completely. Until 10 years ago, when they did. The silence hit harder than any loss I'd experienced. Government officials who had monitored our family since the exchange offered no explanations. Nova couldn't reach her people either. It was as if a door had slammed shut between our worlds. I threw myself into astronomy, into theoretical physics, into any field that might help me understand what had happened. My relationships failed, one after another. How could I explain to someone that half my heart was literally in another solar system? That the woman I called my sister was both my closest family and an alien entity I still didn't fully understand. Nova and I grew closer in our shared loss. She was as human as she was alien by then. Brilliant, compassionate, but with insights and abilities that reminded me daily of her origins. Together, we built a life around the absence at its center. Then, 3 days ago, at exactly 3:17 a.m., every electronic device in my apartment activated simultaneously. My phone, computer, even the digital clock on my microwave, all displaying the same message. The circle completes. The twin stars realign. Prepare for reunion. I called Nova immediately. She had received the same message. We barely had time to process when a government vehicle arrived at my door. The officials inside weren't the usual monitoring agents. These were high-ranking military personnel, diplomatic officers, and scientists I recognized from major research institutions. "It's happening," the lead official said without preamble. "They're returning, and they're bringing her back." The next 48 hours were a blur of security briefings, medical preparations, and psychological evaluations. They moved us to a remote facility in the mountains, the same one where they had initially processed Nova 30 years earlier. Old equipment was reactivated, new security protocols implemented. No one knew what to expect. The Lily who left was a 7-year-old human girl. The woman returning would be 37, having lived most of her life among beings with technology and biology we still barely comprehended. Last night, Nova's skin began to glow with a faint blue luminescence, something I'd never seen before. She explained that her people were close, that she could feel their presence approaching our atmosphere. "They're excited, Alex," she whispered, her eyes wider and more galaxy-like than I'd seen in years. "They consider this experiment a profound success." Experiment. I asked. Nova smiled enigmatically. Everything is an exchange of knowledge to them. Lily has learned their ways, and they have learned ours through her. And now? Now what? Now they believe both our species are ready for the next step. The government officials grew increasingly tense as the predicted arrival time approached. Additional military personnel arrived. Someone mentioned orbital defense systems being placed on standby, just in case. At exactly midnight, Nova gasped and clutched my hand. She's here. The building's lights flickered. The ground trembled slightly. Outside, beyond the facility's reinforced windows, a familiar blue light began to grow. I wasn't prepared for what happened next. The light didn't come from the sky, as everyone expected. It emanated from the ground, as if something was emerging from within the Earth itself. Scientists scrambled to their instruments. Security personnel raised their weapons. Nova simply walked forward, pulling me along. "It's okay," she said to everyone. "This is how they arrive now. They've evolved." The light coalesced into a doorway of pure energy, and through it stepped a figure, tall, elegant, with skin that seemed to shimmer between human flesh tones and something iridescent beneath. But I knew those eyes immediately. 30 years hadn't changed them at all. "Lily?" My voice cracked. The woman, no longer entirely human but unmistakably my sister, smiled. When she spoke, her voice carried harmonics that made the air itself vibrate. "Hello, Alex. I've missed you." She took a step toward me, and I noticed something in her hand, a small device pulsing with the same blue energy. "I brought something back with me," she said. "Knowledge that will change everything." Nova moved to stand beside her, their energies seemingly connecting, resonating. "What is it?" I asked, my heart pounding. Lily extended her hand, offering me the device. "The future, brother. I've brought back our future." As my fingers reached toward the pulsing light, I realized that the reunion I had dreamed of for 30 years was just the beginning of something much larger, something that would redefine what it meant to be human, what it meant to be family, and what it meant to belong to the stars. Time seemed to freeze as my fingers made contact with the device. A warm, tingling sensation spread up my arm, and for a brief moment, I swear I could feel Lily's thoughts, fragments of memories from her 3 decades among the stars. Vast crystal cities suspended in orbit around planets with rings that made Saturn look ordinary, oceans that glowed from within. Beings of impossible grace moving through dimensions I couldn't quite perceive. Then the connection broke as a military officer stepped forward, his hand hovering near his weapon. "Ma'am, I need you to place that device on the ground slowly," he ordered, his voice strained with the effort of maintaining protocol in the face of the impossible. Lily turned to him with a smile that somehow made him step back. "There's nothing to fear," she said. "This isn't a weapon. It's a bridge." Nova placed a hand on the officer's arm. After 30 years on Earth, she had learned exactly how to calm human anxiety. "Trust me," she said softly. "If they meant harm, they wouldn't have sent back someone who still remembers how to cry at old Disney movies." That small, human detail, so unexpected, broke the tension. I laughed despite myself, remembering how Lily had always sobbed during Bambi. The officer's posture relaxed slightly, though his eyes remained fixed on the pulsing device. "Perhaps we should continue this reunion somewhere more private," suggested Dr. Hansen, the lead scientist who had been studying Nova for decades. Her eyes gleamed with barely contained excitement. My lab would be suitable. 20 minutes later, we sat in Hansen's lab while government officials argued outside about security protocols. Lily seemed amused by the whole situation, watching them through the glass walls with the patient observation of someone watching ants rebuild after a rainstorm. "They haven't changed much," she noted, still so focused on control. "And your people?" I asked. "What do they want from this reunion?" Lily considered the question carefully. "They don't think in terms of wanting. They think in terms of becoming. Everything is evolution to them. Individuals, species, civilizations, ideas. That doesn't actually answer my question, I said, feeling a flash of frustration. My sister, for all her familiar mannerisms, sometimes spoke in the circular way that Nova did when discussing her people's philosophy. Lily's expression softened. She reached across the table and took my hand, her skin warmer than human temperature. I'm sorry, Alex. 30 years speaking another language makes English feel imprecise. She squeezed my fingers. They sent me back because the experiment is entering its second phase. They believe humanity is ready. Ready for what? Dr. Hansen interjected. The choice, Nova answered before Lily could, their eyes meeting in silent understanding. Lily nodded. Exactly. The choice that changes everything. I pulled my hand away, suddenly angry. Do you have any idea what it was like? 30 years wondering if you were even alive. Mom died never knowing if she'd see you again. Dad still sits by the window every night, watching the stars. My voice cracked. And now you're back talking about experiments and choices, like you've been gone on some academic sabbatical. The room fell silent. Nova looked down, uncomfortable with the raw emotion. Dr. Hansen pretended to check something on her tablet, but Lily just watched me, her strange eyes filled with something I couldn't quite identify. Sorrow, perhaps, but mixed with something else. Determination. I missed the funeral, she said quietly. I felt it happen. Alex, their people have ways of maintaining connections across distance. I felt Mom's passing like a thread being cut. I grieved in my way, among the stars. A single tear tracked down her cheek, leaving a faint luminescent trail. I wanted to come back then, but it wasn't time yet. Why not? I demanded. Who decided that? I did. Her answer surprised me. If I had returned then, it would have been only for us, for our family. But this, she gestured to the device on the table. This is for everyone. The device pulsed, as if responding to her words. Its blue light cast strange shadows across the sterile lab. Dr. Hansen couldn't contain herself any longer. What exactly does it do? Lily's expression changed, becoming more formal. It contains the accumulated knowledge of 13 civilizations across this arm of the galaxy. Medical advancements that could end disease as humans understand it. Clean energy solutions that would render fossil fuels obsolete overnight. And the principles of harmonic space-time navigation. Faster than light travel, Nova translated, her voice filled with wonder. Yes, Lily confirmed, among other things. The weight of this revelation settled over us. I thought about what such technology would mean, how it would transform our world, our understanding of our place in the universe, how it would change everything. There's a catch, I said, not asking but knowing. There always was. Lily nodded. The knowledge comes with responsibility. Once accepted, Earth becomes part of the collective. Not ruled by it, she added quickly, seeing my expression darken, but answerable to shared principles. The first of which is the protection of developing worlds. We would become guardians, Nova said, rather than just explorers. Dr. Hansen leaned forward, her scientific curiosity fully engaged. And if we refuse, then I take this back with me, and Earth continues on its current path. Lily's voice held no judgment. They are patient. They would simply wait until humanity reaches the same conclusions independently. It might take a few hundred years, but we might not have a few hundred years, I interrupted. Climate disaster, nuclear weapons, resource depletion. I know, Lily said softly. That's partly why I fought to come back now. A knock at the door interrupted us. The military commander entered, his face grim. We have a situation, he announced. Unusual atmospheric disturbances have been detected, and we're picking up signals, lots of them, from orbit. Nova and Lily exchanged looks. They're early, Nova murmured. Who's early? The commander demanded. The observers, Lily replied calmly. Representatives from the collective. They're here to witness Earth's choice. The commander's hand went to his weapon again. This wasn't part of the agreement. One visitor. That's what we prepared for. They're not landing, Lily assured him. They're merely watching. This moment has been anticipated for a very long time. The room erupted into chaos as officials were called, orders given, defense systems activated. Through it all, Lily remained serene, watching the panicked humans with an expression that reminded me of how adults watch children having tantrums, with patience and a touch of sadness. She caught my eye across the room and mouthed words I hadn't heard since we were 7. Trust me. And despite everything, the 30 years of absence, the secrets, the alien ships now gathering in our skies, I found that I did. Because underneath the otherworldly changes, behind those star-filled eyes, she was still Lily. Still my twin. Still the one person in 2 worlds who knew me better than I knew myself. As alarms began to sound throughout the facility, Lily stood and held out her hand to me, the device glowing between us. It's time to choose, Alex, she said. For all of us. The facility transformed into a storm of activity. Military personnel rushed through corridors, scientists huddled over monitors displaying incomprehensible data, and government officials spoke in urgent, hushed tones through secure channels. Through it all, Lily stood calm at the center, the eye of a hurricane she had brought with her. I stared at her outstretched hand, the device pulsing between us like a living heart. Why me? I asked. Why not the president or the UN or? Because you're my anchor, Lily said simply, my connection to humanity. The choice must come from someone who understands both worlds, at least a little. Her eyes softened. And because I trust you. Nova moved to stand beside us, completing a triangle. We should hurry, she said, glancing at the monitor showing multiple anomalies appearing in Earth's orbit. They're growing impatient. Commander Davis burst into the room, his face flushed with a mixture of fear and determination. We've got satellites going dark, communication systems failing worldwide. Whatever's up there is interfering with our entire infrastructure. He fixed his gaze on Lily. Is this an invasion? No, Lily said firmly. It's observation. They're creating let's call it a bubble of attention. The entire collective is watching now. You told us they wouldn't interfere. Dr. Hansen's voice rose with alarm. And they won't, Lily assured her. But they need to witness. This is how it's always done. She turned back to me. Alex, please. We don't have much time. For what? What exactly happens if I touch that thing again? Lily took a breath. You'll see everything I've seen. You'll understand what's being offered and what's being asked in return. And then you'll decide, for all of humanity, whether to accept or decline. The weight of her words hit me like a physical blow. That's insane. I can't decide something like that for everyone. I'm nobody. I teach physics at a community college. Perhaps that makes you the perfect choice, Nova suggested quietly. Someone who understands science but lives among ordinary people. Commander Davis stepped forward. This is a matter of national, of global, security. We need to consult with leadership, establish protocols. There's no time. Lily cut him off. The window is narrow. The alignment that allows this transfer happens once every few centuries. If we miss it, an alarm blared, cutting through her explanation. The facility's lights flickered, then shifted to emergency power, bathing everything in dim red. Multiple objects descending through the atmosphere, reported a technician, her voice tight with stress. They're not on any predicted trajectory. They're everywhere. Witnesses, Nova whispered, physical manifestations of the collective's attention. Commander Davis barked orders into his radio, but it only emitted static in response. They've cut us off, he realized, a new fear entering his eyes. Dr. Hansen approached me, her scientific curiosity warring with obvious terror. Alex, whatever you decide, we need to understand what's happening. The data we could gather. This isn't about data. I snapped, the pressure crushing down on me. 30 years waiting for my sister, and now this. This is about the future of our entire species. The building shuddered, dust raining down from the ceiling. Outside, through the reinforced windows, strange lights danced across the night sky. Not like the UFOs from movies, but like the aurora borealis gone mad, patterns that hurt to look at directly. Lily gripped my arm, her touch warm and foreign at once. They're growing impatient. This facility sits on a confluence point, a place where their reality and ours can align properly. That's why they arranged the exchange here 30 years ago. That's why we came back here. But the confluence is temporary. How temporary? I demanded. Nova glanced at the shifting lights outside. Minutes, not hours. Commander Davis was on a landline now, presumably trying to reach his superiors. The other military personnel looked increasingly nervous, hands hovering near weapons that would be useless against visitors who could manipulate space-time. I looked at the device in Lily's palm, still pulsing with that strange blue energy. If I refuse, what happens? They leave. They take their knowledge with them. Earth continues on its current path, Lily explained. And you? Do you leave too? Pain flashed across her face, the most human expression I'd seen since her return. Yes, my place is with them now, Alex. I'm sorry. That admission hit harder than I expected. To find her after 30 years only to lose her again immediately. The universe had a cruel sense of humor. Nova touched my shoulder gently. There's something else you should know, she said. If Earth accepts, I must return with them as well. The exchange would be complete. I stared at her, another loss piling onto an already impossible situation. Nova had been my constant companion, my alien sister, for 3 decades. The thought of losing both her and Lily in one night was almost too much to bear. The facility shook again, more violently this time. A crack appeared in one wall, spiderwebbing outward. The strange lights outside intensified, casting alien shadows across the room. It's destabilizing, Lily said with urgent calm. The confluence is starting to collapse. Commander Davis slammed down the landline. I've got no orders, no guidance. This is beyond anything we've prepared for. He looked at me, surprising me with the raw humanity in his expression. What do we do, Professor? Everyone was looking at me now. The military officers, the scientists, Nova with her galaxy eyes, and Lily, my sister who belonged to the stars. The weight of their expectations was suffocating. I need to think, I said, backing away. I need a minute. I stepped into the hallway, leaning against the wall as my mind raced. The building continued to shake, emergency lights flickering. Through a window, I could see military vehicles arriving outside, their headlights cutting through the strange atmospheric disturbances. How could I possibly make this choice? Accept alien technology and knowledge that could save our planet from itself, but bind humanity to unknown cosmic laws, or reject it and watch my sister leave forever, along with perhaps our only hope for surviving our self-destructive tendencies. A photo on the wall caught my eye, an old group picture of the original exchange team from 30 years ago. My parents were there, looking so young and terrified, holding 7-year-old me, while Lily stood proudly next to a small blue-skinned child who would become Nova, the beginning of everything. My father's words from long ago echoed in my memory. Sometimes the hardest choices are the ones we don't understand until after we've made them. The building groaned, the structural integrity failing as reality itself seemed to warp around us. I hurried back to the lab where everyone waited in tense silence. Through the windows, I could see the sky had turned into something impossible. Not darkness, not light, but a swirling vortex of possibilities. I've made my decision, I announced as I re-entered the room. Lily held out the device once more, her eyes filled with a mixture of hope and acceptance. Whatever you choose, I've always loved you, brother. Nova stood beside her, their energies seemingly intertwined now, two beings caught between worlds. I reached out my hand, hovering just above the pulsing blue light. The moment stretched into infinity as the building shook around us, and the sky continued to warp. In that suspended moment, the weight of human history and its possible futures pressed down upon me like a physical force. My fingers trembled, just inches from humanity's crossroads. Time seemed to slow as my fingers hovered above the pulsing device. In that stretched moment, I saw flashes of memory. Lily and me as children, chasing fireflies in our backyard. Nova learning to ride a bike with awkward determination. My father teaching us about constellations on clear summer nights. My mother's face when Lily volunteered to go, a mixture of pride and heartbreak I'd never fully understood until now. My hand trembled, and just as my fingertips were about to make contact, the facility rocked with the most violent tremor yet. The floor cracked beneath our feet, and I stumbled backward, catching myself against a lab table. "We're running out of time," Lily said, a note of genuine fear entering her voice for the first time. "The confluence is becoming unstable." Commander Davis's radio crackled to life suddenly, filling the room with the panicked voice of a soldier outside. "Sir, we've got multiple objects descending. They're not like the lights. They're physical craft of some kind." Nova moved to the window, her body tensing. "Protectors," she whispered. "This isn't right. They shouldn't be here." "Protectors?" Dr. Hansen asked, moving to stand beside her. "A faction within the collective," Lily explained, her calm facade cracking. "They believe developing worlds should be guided more firmly. They oppose offering choices like this." "You mean they want to control us instead?" Commander Davis translated grimly. Lily didn't deny it. "They're a minority viewpoint, but powerful. If they've sent ships, something has gone wrong with the protocol." She turned to me, her eyes wide. "Alex, we need to decide now." The building shook again, pieces of ceiling crashing down around us. Emergency sirens wailed throughout the facility. "Sir," a young soldier burst into the room. "The President is on secure line 1. And we've got reports of similar objects appearing over major cities worldwide." "This wasn't supposed to happen," Lily said, looking genuinely frightened now. "The observation was meant to be passive." I felt anger rising through my confusion and fear. "You told us this was safe, that they were just watching." "It was supposed to be. Something's interfering." Lily broke off, her gaze locking with Nova's. A silent understanding passed between them. "The balance," Nova said softly. "It's shifted within the collective." Outside, the strange lights in the sky had taken on new patterns, no longer the swirling vortex of possibilities, but sharper, more aggressive configurations. Through gaps in the clouds, we could see dark shapes descending, unlike any aircraft humans had designed. "What happens if these protectors reach us before I decide?" I asked, already guessing the answer. "The choice would be taken from you," Lily confirmed. "From all of humanity." Commander Davis was on the phone now, his face growing paler by the second as he received information from his superiors. "We've got reports of technology failures across the globe. Power grids, communications, defense systems. They're all going down. They're isolating Earth," Nova explained. "Standard procedure before integration." "Integration," Dr. Hansen repeated, her scientific curiosity giving way to horror. "You mean conquest?" "Not conquest," Lily corrected. "But yes, a form of managed development. The protectors believe some species require guidance to avoid self-destruction." The implications hit me like a physical blow. This wasn't just about accepting knowledge anymore. It was about preserving human autonomy itself. The secure phone Commander Davis was using suddenly went dead. He slammed it down in frustration. "We're cut off completely now." A new tremor shook the building, this one accompanied by a sound like the sky itself being torn open. Through the windows, we could see a larger craft descending directly toward our facility, its design impossible to comprehend. Angles that shouldn't exist, surfaces that seemed to fold into themselves. "We're out of time," Lily said urgently, pushing the device toward me. "Alex, please." I looked into my sister's eyes, so familiar yet so alien, and saw genuine fear there. Not for herself, I realized, but for humanity. For me. "If I accept this knowledge," I said, trying to think clearly through the chaos, "what happens to the protectors?" "The collective laws would apply. Earth would be recognized as an autonomous member, protected from interference." Lily's voice was steady despite the building literally crumbling around us, but only if the choice is made freely before they establish control. Nova moved to the window, watching the approaching craft. "They're scanning for the device. They know it's here." Military personnel were evacuating other parts of the facility now. We could hear shouting in the hallways, heavy equipment being moved. Commander Davis looked torn between his duty to follow evacuation protocols and his need to witness what was happening in this room. "Sir," a soldier called from the doorway, "we need to move now." "Go," I told the commander. "Get your people to safety." He hesitated, then gave me a curt nod that somehow conveyed both respect and a silent good luck. "Hansen, you too," he ordered the scientist. Dr. Hansen looked at the three of us, human, alien, and something in between, then at the device still glowing in Lily's palm. "Whatever you decide," she said to me, "I hope it's what humanity needs." Then she followed the commander out. Now it was just the three of us in the crumbling lab. Me, Lily, and Nova. The family that transcended stars. "I need to know one more thing," I said as the ceiling groaned above us. "What happens to you both if I accept?" Lily and Nova exchanged glances. "I would return with them," Nova confirmed. "The exchange would be complete." "And I?" Lily hesitated. "I'm no longer fully human, Alex. I couldn't stay on Earth permanently. But I could visit. The collective allows contact between worlds once integration is complete." Outside, the massive craft had stopped its descent, hovering perhaps 100 feet above the facility. A beam of intense light shot down from its center, scanning the building. "They're looking for the confluence point," Nova said tensely. "For us." The walls around us began to crack, reality itself seemingly warped by the proximity of so much alien technology. The device in Lily's hand pulsed more rapidly, its blue glow intensifying. "It's responding to them," she explained. "The knowledge is trying to protect itself." I felt the weight of billions of lives pressing down on me. Not just those living now, but all who would come after. Future generations whose freedom or subjugation might hinge on what I did in these next moments. "If I refuse," I asked, "what happens to you?" Lily's expression softened. "I return with them. My place is there now." "And Earth." Her silence was answer enough. The beam of light from the ship intensified, beginning to cut through the roof above us. Debris rained down, forcing us to dodge. "Alex," Nova said, her voice gentle despite the chaos. "Whatever you choose, know that both of us have loved you. Earth has been my home because of you." Lily held out the device one final time, her eyes filled with a mixture of hope, fear, and something else. Pride, perhaps. "The choice has always been humanity's to make. Yours to make." The roof began to give way completely, the alien light now pouring directly into the room. In its glow, both Lily and Nova seemed to transform slightly, their true nature more visible, beautiful and strange, and somehow more real than anything I'd ever seen. I reached for the device, my decision crystallizing in that moment of clarity. My fingertips touched its surface just as the alien light engulfed the three of us. The instant my fingers made full contact with the device, the world exploded into light and sound. It wasn't pain exactly, but overwhelming sensation, as if every nerve in my body had been activated simultaneously. I gasped, unable to pull away, unable to do anything but experience what was happening. Knowledge poured into me like a tidal wave, not just facts or information, but understanding beyond anything human language could express. I saw the true nature of the universe, layers upon layers of reality existing simultaneously, worlds upon worlds connected by threads of consciousness. I saw the history of the collective. 13 civilizations who had each faced their own existential crossroads and chosen connection over isolation, growth over stagnation. And I saw Earth as they saw it, a beautiful, fragile world of staggering biodiversity, home to a species of remarkable creativity and equally remarkable capacity for self-destruction. I saw our potential futures branching out like a vast tree, some branches withering into extinction, others flowering into possibilities beyond imagination. Through it all, I remained dimly aware of my physical surroundings, the crumbling lab, the alien light pouring from above, Lily and Nova standing beside me, their forms shifting between human and something else as reality itself became fluid around us. Alex. Lily's voice seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. You have to focus. The protectors are attempting to disrupt the transfer. I became aware of another presence trying to intrude on the knowledge stream. Colder, more rigid, a force that sought not to share but to control. The protectors were attempting to hijack the connection, to turn this moment of choice into something else entirely. Fight it, Nova urged, her voice echoing strangely. The knowledge responds to your intent, your will. I tried to concentrate, but the sheer volume of information was overwhelming. How could any human mind process this? It was like trying to drink from a fire hose, like trying to hold an ocean in a teacup. Too much, I managed to gasp. I can't. You don't need to understand all of it. Lily's voice came again. Just accept it, or reject it. The choice is binary, even if the knowledge isn't. The building gave another violent shudder. Through the haze of information flooding my consciousness, I heard shouting outside. Military personnel, scientists, witnesses to whatever strange light show was now emanating from our location. The protector's ship had begun emitting a deep, resonant hum that seemed to vibrate through my very bones. They're preparing an extraction beam, Nova warned. If they pull us up before the transfer completes. She didn't need to finish. I understood now. If the protectors interrupted this process, they would gain control of both the knowledge and Earth's fate. Humanity would become just another managed species, guided along a predetermined path like animals in a wildlife preserve. I tried to focus through the overwhelming flood of information. Images flickered through my mind. Quantum mechanics beyond anything humans had theorized. Medical knowledge that could end all disease. Clean energy solutions that would make fossil fuels obsolete overnight. And space travel technologies that would open the solar system and beyond to exploration. But there was more. The knowledge included the collective's laws, the responsibilities that came with these gifts. The prime directive was clear: protection of developing worlds. If Earth accepted this knowledge, we would be bound to help other emerging civilizations in the same way, to become part of a cosmic network of guardians and teachers. The protectors are scanning the confluence point, Lily said urgently. We have seconds, not minutes. Through the maelstrom of information, I suddenly understood something crucial about the device, about what was happening. It's not just showing me the knowledge, I gasped. It's changing me to be able to receive it. Nova's expression confirmed my realization. Yes, the human mind cannot contain this knowledge without adaptation. You're becoming something new, Lily said softly. As I did, neither fully human nor fully them, a bridge between worlds. Horror and wonder fought within me. I hadn't understood the full implications. If I accepted this gift, I wouldn't just be making the choice for humanity. I would be changing the very definition of what it meant to be human, starting with myself. You never said. I started to protest. Would it have changed your choice? Lily asked, her eyes reflecting galaxies I now recognized from the knowledge pouring into me. The protector's ship emitted a new sound, higher, more urgent. The extraction beam intensified, beginning to pull at us physically. I felt my feet leaving the floor, gravity losing its hold. Decide now. Nova shouted over the cacophony of collapsing reality around us. Accept or reject. There is no middle ground. My mind raced with implications. If I accepted, humanity would gain knowledge that could solve our greatest challenges: climate change, disease, energy crisis, but at the cost of becoming part of something larger, bound by laws we hadn't written. I would be forever changed, no longer fully human. If I rejected it, we would continue on our current path, maintaining our independence but facing our existential threats alone. And I would lose Lily forever. The room around us was disintegrating now, reality itself seemingly torn between dimensions. Through gaps in the failing structure, I caught glimpses of military vehicles surrounding the building, of personnel evacuating, of news helicopters circling at a distance. The whole world would soon know something momentous was happening here. Alex, Lily's voice cut through the chaos, suddenly clear and human. Remember what Mom used to tell us about the stars. Through the torrent of alien knowledge, a simple childhood memory surfaced, my mother pointing at the night sky, telling us that starlight was history, that we were seeing the past when we looked up, that by the time the light reaches us, the star might be gone, I whispered, but the light continues. Lily smiled, and in that moment, she looked entirely like my sister again, the little girl who had left 30 years ago. Whatever you choose, the light continues. The protector's beam had almost fully engulfed us now. I could feel myself being pulled upward, the three of us suspended in a column of impossible light. The device in my hands pulsed rapidly, almost desperately, the transfer of knowledge reaching a critical point. Nova reached out, taking my free hand. "Earth is my home too," she said. "I trust you to decide its fate." The military had formed a perimeter around what remained of the facility. Commander Davis stood at the edge, looking up at us floating in the alien light, his expression a mixture of awe and helplessness. Dr. Hansen was beside him, frantically recording everything on a tablet. In that moment, they represented all of humanity to me, curious, afraid, determined, watching as their future was decided. The knowledge transfer reached its peak, the flow of information so intense that I could no longer distinguish between myself and the universe around me. In that expanded state of consciousness, I finally understood what this moment truly was, not just a choice about technology or alliance, but a fundamental evolutionary crossroads. Either path would transform humanity irrevocably. My father's ancient telescope, Lily's hand in mine as we watched shooting stars, Nova learning to laugh at human jokes, my mother's face as she let her daughter go to the stars. All these memories swirled alongside visions of distant worlds and cosmic wonders. The protector's ship let out one final deafening tone. The beam contracted suddenly, preparing for the final extraction. "Choose," Lily and Nova cried in unison. I closed my eyes, made my decision, and let the light take me. The light subsided gradually, like a tide receding from shore. I felt solid ground beneath my feet again, as the world slowly came back into focus. But it wasn't the crumbling facility I saw when my vision cleared. It was my childhood backyard, exactly as I remembered it from 30 years ago. The old oak tree with our rope swing, Mum's vegetable garden, Dad's weathered deck chair. Only it wasn't real. I understood that immediately. This was a mental construct, a safe space created from my memories, where my consciousness could stabilize after what it had just experienced. Lily stood beside me, looking exactly as she had when we were 7, pigtails and gap-toothed smile intact. Nova was there too, in her original blue-skinned form, small and curious-eyed. "Did I choose?" I asked, my voice sounding strange even to myself. "I don't remember making the final decision." Lily smiled. "You did. Your heart knew what to choose even as your mind was overwhelmed." "And what did I choose?" I almost didn't want to know. "Look inside yourself," Nova suggested. "The knowledge is there now." I closed my eyes and found she was right. The torrential flood had settled into something I could access, like having an encyclopedia integrated directly into my thoughts. More than that, I could feel the connection to the collective, a vast network of consciousness extending across the stars. I accepted it, I whispered, opening my eyes. I accepted everything. Lily nodded, pride evident in her expression. You chose connection over isolation, growth over stagnation, the harder path, but the one with more possibility. What happens now? I asked. To Earth? To us? The backyard setting began to fade around us, reality reasserting itself. Now comes the integration, Nova explained. Not subjugation as the protectors wanted, but true partnership. Earth remains autonomous, but connected. Protected and protecting. It will take time, Lily added. The knowledge will spread slowly, naturally. Through you first, then to others who are ready. The changes will come gradually enough that society can adapt without collapse. The illusion of our childhood home dissolved completely, and I found myself standing in what remained of the facility. Sunlight streamed through the shattered roof. Morning had come while we were suspended in that moment of choice. The military personnel were maintaining their perimeter, but their weapons were lowered. The alien craft had vanished from the sky. Commander Davis approached cautiously, keeping a respectful distance. Professor, are you still you? I looked down at my hands. They appeared normal, but I could feel the difference. Subtle changes at the cellular level that would allow my human body to channel the knowledge I now carried. Yes and no, I answered honestly. I'm still me, but more than I was before. Dr. Hansen stepped forward, scientific curiosity overcoming caution. What happened? The lights, the ship, everything just stopped suddenly, like someone flipped a switch. The transfer completed, Lily explained. The protectors have been denied jurisdiction under collective law. Earth is now recognized as an autonomous member world. Member? Of what exactly? Commander Davis asked, his hand still resting on his holstered weapon. I found I could answer questions that would have been incomprehensible to me hours earlier. Think of it as a galactic United Nations, Commander. Independent worlds united by shared principles and mutual protection. I smiled slightly. With much better technology. Nova moved to stand beside me, her appearance subtly shifting, becoming more alien again. I must return with them soon. The exchange is complete. Pain lanced through me at the thought of losing her after all these years. There's no way you could stay. She shook her head gently. My purpose here was to prepare the way, to help humanity understand there are many kinds of intelligence in the universe. That work is done now. She touched my arm, her skin cool against mine. But the connection remains. I will always be your sister across any distance. Lily approached, and I noticed she too was changing, her form becoming less solidly human. I can remain a little longer, she said, to help you begin the integration. There's much to explain to your leaders, to prepare humanity for what comes next. Will I see you again after that? I asked, suddenly feeling like that 7-year-old boy watching his sister leave. She smiled, and despite her increasingly alien appearance, it was still Lily's smile. Of course. The barriers between our worlds are thinner now. I'll visit often. She glanced at the sky. And someday you'll visit me among the stars. Over the next few hours, as government officials arrived and the situation was explained, I began to understand the monumental nature of what had happened and what was still to come. This wasn't just first contact, it was first connection. Earth had taken its place in a community of worlds while maintaining its independence, its unique identity. The knowledge I now carried would transform human civilization, not overnight, but over generations. Clean energy, advanced medicine, space travel beyond our solar system. But more importantly, a new understanding of our place in the cosmos. Not alone, not special, but part of something greater than ourselves. 3 days later, I stood with Lily at the same spot where she had been taken 30 years before. A small group had gathered to witness her departure. Government officials, scientists, and at my insistence, our father. At 92, he moved slowly with his walker, but his eyes were clear and alert as he beheld his long-lost daughter. "You're really going back?" he asked Lily, his voice wavering slightly. She knelt before him, taking his weathered hands in hers. Though her appearance had continued to shift toward her true form, he showed no fear, only wonder. "I have to, Dad. But not forever this time. I'll return." He nodded, tears streaming down his lined face. "Your mother would be so proud. Of both of you," he added, looking at me. As the appointed time approached, Lily embraced me one last time. "Remember, you're not alone in this," she whispered. "Others will be chosen to carry portions of the knowledge. You'll recognize them when you meet them." "I'm going to miss you," I said, my voice thick with emotion. "Distance is an illusion," she replied with a smile. "We're connected now, more than ever before." She stepped back, her form beginning to shimmer with that familiar blue light. Nova stood beside her, already more alien than human, but she gave me one last smile. The same smile I'd known for 30 years. "The stars are waiting for humanity," Nova said. "We'll be watching your journey." The light intensified around them, beautiful and strange. I shielded my eyes, but couldn't look away as they dissolved into pure energy, spiraling upward into the clear morning sky. As they vanished, I felt something new inside me. A sense of purpose, of clarity. The knowledge I carried wasn't just information. It was responsibility, a bridge between worlds, between what humanity had been and what it could become. My father's hand found mine, surprisingly strong despite his age. "What now?" he asked, gazing up at the sky where his daughter had disappeared. I smiled, feeling both the weight and the wonder of the path ahead. "Now we look to the stars, Dad. But this time, we know they're looking back." Above us, the morning sun shone in a cloudless sky, but somehow I could still see the stars beyond. Countless worlds, countless possibilities, and among them, family waiting to welcome us home.